Member for Longman.
Mr Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to draw attention to major infrastructure concerns in my electorate of Longman. Mr Speaker, for a long time now, the diagonal highway running through the middle of my electorate, from the Bruce Highway towards the west, has been claiming the lives of those who use it. The most recent tragedy occurred on the 24th of January, when another life was lost on the highway. The highway is becoming increasingly busy, and this is further indication that Longman is part of Queensland's fastest-growing region. And like much of the infrastructure servicing this area, it is simply not keeping pace with the demands placed upon it. Mr Speaker, members will be aware that South East Queensland has been identified by respected social demographer Bernard Salt as a pressure point in Australia. Population increases are inevitable, and with them the contingent pressure on our roads, hospitals and schools. The pressure on the diagonal highway is only going to increase as more and more people move to the area, and it is the responsibility of all levels of government to ensure that it is a fit state to respond to those pressures. Mr Speaker, this is clearly not the case at present. I held a listening post in the community of Woodford on Saturday the 12th of February, and Mr Speaker, the state of the highway was by far the issue that was raised with me as the greatest concerns for residents in the area who have to use the road every day. The bottom line is that it is just plain dangerous and it needs to be fixed urgently. During the last election campaign, I was very happy, along with many locals, that the Coalition recognised the urgent needs of my community and committed $12 million worth of additional funding to upgrade some of the most dangerous areas of the highway. Some of the urgent work that needs to be done includes improving drainage to limit cars aquaplaning out of control during periods of heavy rain. And there has been no shortage of that in Queensland this summer, Mr Speaker. Essential improvements that are needed are new and replacement guardrails and the removal of vegetation from the side of the road to improve line of sight for drivers. There are particularly dangerous intersections in the stretch of highway between Caboolture and Kilcoy that need urgent attention. Mr Speaker, I have written to the Federal Minister for Infrastructure and Transport, and I was disappointed by the lack of commitment to addressing the issues by providing additional black spot funding. I have been immensely disappointed by the apparent lack of interest shown in the issues by the state Labor government. This is, after all, a state government road. After the last tragic loss of life, my colleagues, Andrew Powell, State Member for Glasshouse, Fiona Simpson, State Shadow Minister for Transport and Main Roads, Warren Truss, Federal Shadow Minister for Transport and Infrastructure, and I called yet again on all levels of government to provide funding to make the highway safe, and in particular for the state Labor government to recognise the urgent needs of my local community and fund the construction of critical passing lanes. Mr Speaker, I have spoken before about the Bribie Island Bridge, which joins the Bribie community to the mainland. It is in fact the only access available on or off the island. Mr Speaker, the current bridge is also clearly inadequate to service the needs of the Bribie community. I raise this issue again because, again, I have been disappointed by the state Labor government's inaction. Mr Speaker, when the Bribie Island Bridge was built, there were few people on the island. There is now a major population base there, and in the summer Bribie attracts many visitors. Much of the population of Bribie Island is also elderly, and they rely on medical and other support on the mainland. Any accident on the bridge is a potential catastrophe. Any accident on the bridge simply cuts access to and from the island. It needs upgrading. I, along with countless locals, are forced to question, is Labor in action simply because of an inability to listen to the needs of my local community, or is it because of an inability to deliver basic and essential infrastructure because of the waste and mismanagement of Labor government? Government should exist, first and foremost, to deliver basic services, such as roads, to taxpayers. Without this maladministration, my local community would have seen forward planning that catered for growth in the region and ensured the safety of residents. Instead, my community is again today faced with the harsh reality that Labor government waste and mismanagement has resulted in a situation where Labor governments cannot provide the most basic and essential of infrastructure.